All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for jumping in. My name is Nick Baldwin. I am co-founder of LabCoat Agents. And today we've got Curtis Fenn, president of RedX. And today we're going to talk about building and managing a real estate team. It's one of the most demanding roles in the industry, being a team leader, which I've been, and it's very difficult. As a team leader, you're responsible for not just your own success, but ensuring that your agents are productive, motivated, accountable. And so this training with Curtis and myself, we're going to show you how you can supply your team with high intent leads and the tools to convert them and give the training to your agents that they need to be successful. So thanks for being here, Curtis. Appreciate it
Yeah.
as always.
Thanks, Nick.
Hey, everyone, drop in the chat where you're from. We got St. Louis in the house. St. Louis, Missouri. Is that how they say it? I don't know. That's what I heard. So anyway, Curtis, yeah, how's it going? Thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
it's good. Things are good. Things are busy. It's been a crazy year. The reality of where we're at is the last thing I read is we are not hitting or exceeding the number of transactions we did at this time last year. So the reality of the market is that it's still tough, you know, and but that's why we got to keep learning. That's why we got to implement new skills and new things
Yeah,
and and I think that's a common theme in most of these podcasts and webinars that I've been doing is we're trying to tell people you can't just keep working harder at the same things that haven't been working. Like you got to
yeah,
do some
it's
new
very
stuff.
different.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So like I do a lot of coaching and coaching is the landscape of coaching in terms of, you know, coaching clients, obtaining coaching clients is very different than it used to be like before COVID and then during COVID and now. I think things are turning very personal, like with a personal touch, which has always been
Yeah.
important. But people are becoming more and more aware, whether it be you're trying to get a coaching client or you're trying to get a lead for your real estate business. People are becoming very aware, especially now with AI. They're becoming very aware of like, is this text from a real person? Is this email from a real person? So getting back to being personal, I think is super important. So, yeah, last year we only sold just slightly above 4 million homes, which is like I think the lowest home sales since 1995. I was recently
Yep.
doing some research on that.
Yep.
So, do you think that we're going to see some individual agents dropping out of the business?
Oh, for sure. The last poll that was done in December said only 74% of the agents responded that they knew that they were going to renew their license. That
Okay.
I mean, and so we haven't seen the numbers of Q1, and I think NAR is probably not going to be excited. They everybody's looking at them
Well, they
from
want more and more and more, but
uh,
I think like, the industry is flooded. It's consumed with, and do you think teams are like do you think teams, because you hear a lot of things about teams like teams are the way to go, teams are what's going to save you. And what's your opinion on that? Like, I mean, do you have to join a
yeah.
team? Do you have to start a team?
So if I were um, giving advice to a family member, I would tell them to go join a good team. And I would be, we work with a lot of teams and we work with a lot of individual agents. And so I would there's specific things I would be telling them to look for, which is kind of where the topic should go for our discussion is um, I think teams are good. I think that they build the infrastructure that brokers used to do, and then brokers grew, and then pretty soon that was just a place to hang their license, and then teams started to form within there because people want the one-on-one, mentorship. But therein lies one of the biggest thing. We've us, we've been doing data. We like data. We're kind of nerdy.
Yeah, your
Um,
data,
yeah,
your data company.
as running a business, I'd rather make data driven decisions than follow my gut. And because the data doesn't lie, you can lie to yourself about the data. But so
Right.
we've done a bunch of research, and there's a few things about teams that I think there's a problem in the industry that kind of speaks to your question of, hey, is that the way to go? It can be if you have the right team, but in our research, um, let me make sure I give you the right statistic here. 81% of team leaders. Now, this is out of about 750 responses to a
Okay.
survey, right? So, I mean, pretty decent sample size here. 81% of team leaders spend less than 3 hours a week managing or training their agents on how to get business.
Hmm.
So between 1 and 3 hours. Yet when we ask all of the members of the team, why did you join a team? They said, because I want help learning how to go get business. So there's
There's a
definitely
disconnect.
there's a disconnect of what's going on. And so then we get into, well, why did you start a team? And I was on a call with a great team leader yesterday who said a lot, we started a team because we have abundance. We started a team because we have all these leads. We put systems in place. You're buying the leads. You're the Zillow Flex person in your market, and you just want to have agents convert all of those leads so they don't go to waste, and you can make some of that money, so you build a team. The challenge is when that abundance starts to dry up like it has, did you create an environment where people expect leads, or did you create an environment and a culture on your team that teach people how to go and hunt and teach people how to go and create their own business? And
Yeah.
and so, but there's that's hard because 80% of teams are less than 10 people. And in most cases, the team leader is still in production. I don't know when you ran a team if that was the case for you, but it's really hard to be in production and manage your team.
I think a lot of people, just from talking to a lot of agents for many years, they go, I want to start a team because I don't want to sell houses anymore. I want someone else to do it for me. And that's not the reason to start a team or to, it's just not because it's a very selfish reason. You
Sure.
actually, you need to, it's got to be a selfless decision. I mean, yeah, you got a lot of leads, but you got to teach people how to go talk to them and close them. You can't just hand them out and it's not going to do anything. But we want to focus more on, what do you want to focus particularly on? Um, you're already a team leader.
Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
already a team leader, and people need to understand, what their team is looking for. And team leader is interesting in our space because there's 17 different ways to describe your team, or 1,700 different ways that you can set up your team. But for the most part, the team is providing some infrastructure. That's why teams blew up so fast over the last few years, is because people go, well, I don't have the means to build an infrastructure. And even if I back up, I go, well, 10 years ago, people built their business by grinding with their sphere of influence, knocking doors, calling expireds, right? Doing what you had to do to build a really good sphere of influence from which that you could tap into and get business. And then it kind of changed over time. All these lead generators came out, and the business became about buying leads and trying to convert them. And so these teams have all of these leads, and those leads are drying up. Why? Well, there's
Yeah.
only 4 million transactions.
Right.
So NAR
And I
did
think Zillow has something like 200 million visitors a month.
Yeah, yeah, and 4 million transactions. Less than 3% of the country's turning over right now. So if you look
Yeah.
at your sphere of influence, your database, only 3% of those people are gonna, sell their home this year. So then you're grinding trying to get referrals, but the average person knows 3 real estate agents in their sphere of influence. So sphere of influence is should be your number one source of business, but it's not without its competition. It's not without its limitations.
Oh, for
You
sure. Because your sphere could be in multiple databases.
That's right. And if you're looking at the average turnover rate, it was 2.9% in 2024. And we might be trending less because more homes are being built, yet we're trending even less transactions. So if you're a team leader, you've got to look at that and you got to go, okay, well, do I keep buying leads to feed these people, or do I create an environment that teaches them to generate their own leads? Do I create an environment that teaches them how to maximize the sphere of influence that they have? And that's what we've been about. That's what we're trying to help them do is understand there is a disconnect. They have expectations from you that you're probably not fulfilling, and you probably have expectations of your agents. You're like, why aren't they doing that? In fact, I
Yeah.
have some other funny stats from that thing.
While you're looking for that, when I had an agent on my team that just didn't want leads. She just wanted the coaching, you know,
Yeah,
and she did very well. She was one of my top producers. I think she closed like, I don't know, 20 homes or something. And this was in northern
yeah.
New Jersey, so this is a very high price point. But it was all sphere of influence and stuff. But yeah, I mean the coaching and the training, I think, especially if you're on a team and, there's a higher split for a lead given to you by the team as opposed to a business that you bring in. If there's a
Mhm.
if there's a lower split for that, your agents are going to be more inclined to go after their own sphere and learn how to lead generate on their own. Doesn't mean they're going to
That's
leave as long as you give them value at other ways.
right. Well, there has to be value in other ways, right? And there has to be a culture. There has to be a value in something other than the leads and the
Oh
abundance.
yeah.
And part of that is this stat: 63% of team leaders do not feel like their agents are maximizing any of the tools or leads that they are buying for them. 63%. So you're buying leads, you're like, why aren't they freaking
Well, that's
converting the
true.
leads? Well,
I know
because you
for a
spend
fact
less
that's
than
true.
because you're spending less than 3 hours a week even helping them to do anything. And on top of that, 63%, 15% of team leaders have no idea if their agents are using the tools that they're paying for or not. I mean, like in if you get out into a different business setting, these statistics are crazy. I look at my business, and if my sales manager was like, yeah, I don't think 60% of the because we run about 10 sales guys at RedX. I go, if he came out and he's like, yeah, six of them just don't really do anything with the leads and the tools that were given to them. They I that would I would make a change right then.
Mhm.
But my first question would be, tell me what your training is like. Are you teaching the sales guys how to do stuff? And so, yeah, there's some. So the easiest thing to do here, is you got to look at what your agents need. Is if they were capable, not capable. This sounds terrible. If they wanted, many are capable. Many don't want to run their own business. Many don't want to deal with the overhead, and many don't want to deal with what it takes to run their own business. So being on a team is way easier. I come in, I do what I love. I get to talk to people. I get to, do transactions, and they don't want the headache of being, running their business. They want to be on a team where a lot of that is taken care of. So if you as a team leader are looking at them going, well, why aren't you doing anything? Why can't you just be independent and go bring in deals with the leads that I'm doing? You have the wrong model, right? That's not the right model. Knowing what we know from data, it says they want so much more out of the team than you're giving them. So what?
So yeah, so we definitely want to talk about how you can double your team's production in 2025. So
Yeah.
based on these statistics, what should team leaders be focusing on?
Well, they need to create an environment that facilitates the training, the education, and the right systems that people can use. And so, of course, selfishly, the plug-in here is that's what we do. Is
Okay,
we actually kept hearing this from team leaders, especially those that would buy a team account and then they go, well, I don't know if I want to keep it. And I go, why? I go, well, the agents are not using it. Well, why? Well, then you start talking to the individual agents. Well, because they don't know how. And so so we started helping in the facilitation of training them on how to do it. So
okay,
agent can
yeah,
focus on what they're doing, and then we can go in there and teach them how to prospect, teach them how to do social media the right way, teach them how to, um, you do all the things you do to get business.
yeah. A lot
You
of
know,
people think RedX is just a dialer with phone numbers and emails. And it's really not at this point, like it's evolved so much into like a
Yeah.
marketing platform,
Yep.
and which I really love because I've never been like a smile dial type of guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I did call expireds, for a short period of time in my business, but it just wasn't my thing. I was more social media and sphere of influence driven. But like,
Yeah.
what are some features that we can discuss where it can help agents uh,
Yeah.
become more productive and make the
All right.
team leader happy?
I told you I wasn't going to have a slide, but
You lied.
what I lied.
We like slides though.
Let me pull this one up here. Let me show you something. Okay, you see this chart?
Yep.
Um, I think maybe you and I have talked about some of this before, but to me, this is how you double your production. If if 3% of your database is turning over, and really 6% of them listed, that was the numbers in 2024, then you really ought to focus your time on other people that have a higher list rate. So what we are teaching people to do, and what's really nice about this is you may not have to do anything different. Because if you think about how you work your sphere of influence, Nick, I mean, did you call your, do you have agent, you coach, do you have your people call their sphere of influence and follow up with them?
I mean, yeah, you have to
Yeah, and mail them,
call, text, email, whatever.
knock on their door, client appreciation events,
Yeah.
postcards, whatever. All we're suggesting is do that exact same thing to people who have a higher list rate. So this next column is for rent by owner. These are vacant rentals where somebody's looking for a tenant. Now, the list rate is not much different than your average sphere of influence. However, when we look at um, for rent by owner landlords who actually spoke to a real estate agent, we know that because they spoke to them through our system. The list rate is almost 40%. There's a
Wow.
bunch
Okay.
of landlords out there that freaking hate being landlords. They have one house, they have two houses, and all they need is the right conversation to show them how you could put more money in your pocket, right? So, and then of course, pre-foreclosures, most of these are not short sales in today's world, 16% list rate. For sale by owners, 38% of for sale by owners end up listing their home on the MLS. 80% of for sale by owners end up using the assistance of an agent in some way, whether they paid the buyer's commission or they paid somebody to help with the contract or whatever. But nearly 40% end up listing on the MLS within 47 days.
Yeah, that's
And then
huge.
expireds, of course, is 40. This is expireds and canceled. Expireds is much higher than this, but looking at expireds and canceled, it's 43.4% end up listing within 44 days. So when you start looking at those and you go, well, I don't want a cold call, right? Well, that's okay. All we're saying is whatever you're doing for your sphere of influence, do to these people as well, right? So if you're a team leader and you're looking at your agents and you're going, man, I want them to increase their production, then instead of paying, for big lead generation companies and thousands of dollars, um, which by the way, NAR did research on, it's a 0.2% conversion over 24 months on internet leads.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And so you're paying thousands of dollars every month that in hopes in 3 years you're going to start to fill that pipeline will start to go. Well, what if you instead you go, yeah, still stop by your sphere of influence, still call them, still have coffee, still do those things. But that's what RedX's platform then does for the agents. It's your CRM allows you to work your database. RedX allows you to work all these other ones in the same way. So yeah, you can call them, you can send them postcards, you could target them on social media, you can um, you can get material and statistics to go knock on their door, and meet them. But it's all the same activities. You're just opening up to a list of people that have a much higher list rate, so that your agents have a much higher chance of getting listings.
And if you coach your agents to do this, you'll be running a much leaner team.
Right. And
financially speaking.
yeah, and part of what we do is we take on a lot of that training, not just the tech training, because there's always technology involved that people don't want to learn, but that's the easy part. But even the skills training. So we take it on for the team leader. Every single person on their team gets access to our role play system that teaches them how to, what to say, how to overcome objections. It even teaches them, what kind of postcards you should be sending and how do you get results from postcards? How do you get results from social media? How do you get results from doing open houses in certain neighborhoods that have a higher turnover rate than 3%? All of those things is built within our platform because the more people you talk to from these lists that end up in your sphere of influence is going to start to convert at a much, much higher rate. So, but it's if a team leader isn't going to invest more time to try to train them how to do some of these things, then at least get them a system where we can help facilitate the training and give them the systems to increase and teach them how to become more self-sufficient on the team. So you create an environment of productivity, not an environment where they're like, hey, team leader, where's the leads? Or these
I don't
leads
think,
suck,
yeah, I don't think that it matters who is the one doing the training or the coaching, as long
as
as
long as it's
someone's doing it.
happening. Yeah.
Right. I don't know of a highly successful team that doesn't offer. I mean, there's got to be training and coaching. There just has to be, or else, they're going to expect these quote easy leads, right? Like the internet ones, which
Yeah.
are much harder to chase than calling a for
Right.
sale by
Well,
owner
and
or
they're almost always buyers, right?
true.
And you know, you really want to create lasting business. You want to not deal with a lot of the everything that goes along with buyers now. Then you got to build listing inventory, and you only do that by talking to people who are going to list. So,
I just think that like a lot of team leaders feel like, especially if they're in production, the coaching's taking away from their business, right? That's how they feel. Well, if I coach, it's going to slow down. Everything's going to slow down. I
yeah,
always have to be coaching. And if there's a system that does that coaching for you, so like what kind of coaching does RedX do with
sure,
scripting, what dialogues?
yeah. Well, all of our coaching is based around getting listings, and so we actually start a lot with how to do a listing presentation. And the reason is we over 23 years of helping people get listings, we've realized that if someone isn't really confident in what to do on the appointment, they self-sabotage on the lead generation side because
Hmm.
because they're afraid that someone's going to say yes because they don't really know what to do if they go into the house. So often we start there and give people some confidence that hey, if I go in this house, I have a real good chance of winning the listing. From there, then it's about, okay, well, then how do you get appointments? And that's just different marketing mediums, right? So we teach on postcards and who to send them to and how often. And you do that all from our system. We teach social media because if you have to be on social media. It's where everybody's attention
Yeah,
is.
you have to.
And so our ability in our app to target specific lists of people, you could make videos that only all of the expired listings in your marketplace are going to see on a regular basis. And you can do that from our system. And so we're teaching them how to make the videos. What should you say on the videos? How do you get this posted and targeted and of course we make it real simple inside of our system to do it all.
And
But
are those trainings or coaching sessions, are they pre-recorded? Are they live? Are they a mix of both?
yeah, so every team that signs up, every single person on the team ends up getting a boot camp ticket. That's a 3-day intensive. It's three virtual half days that goes through tech, goes through phone, goes through postcards, goes through social media, goes through door knocking, like all the mediums that you would do to get listings.
Yeah.
Because not everybody wants to do all of those things, right?
No.
Just like you say, you're like, I was never a real big smile and dial kind of guy. No worries. 40, half of the expireds are still going to relist. So how else do you get their attention if you're not going to call?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we teach them how to do. Um, and so that is virtual But our role play system is with live people. It's not an AI system. So you can actually call in anytime you get that. You get the recording of your role play. Um, we do a tremendous amount of courses. So our university has all kinds of courses from everything from mindset, prospecting, listing presentations, and these are all taught by highly productive agents, right? So this isn't just stuff thrown together. Anybody can get into Chat GPT and say, write me a listing presentation outline and do something. But these are agents with proven record. Like Kent is one of our main trainers. Kent, right now, if he may be posting in LabCoat, he's doing his own personal challenge, 1,000 um, phone calls in 100 days,
Oh my
and
God. Okay.
and um, and then he's documenting everything. So in between when he's out doing, and he's doing that, Nick, because last year he got really down on himself because he only did 53 transactions from prospecting. So
Only.
yeah, at a price point of like 850 or something like that. So he's like was mad that he set his sights so low last year. So this year he's grinding, so he's a big on our phone prospecting. And Tyler's an agent here with the local team. He teaches a lot, um, even nuanced stuff like how do you use RedX to make sure you triple the amount of people coming to your open houses, right?
So
So
you guys have agents teaching too, then.
yeah,
That's
yep.
awesome. Not just Red X guys.
No, I have data, and I've been
Yeah.
around for 23 years, so
No, I
I can
know,
get
but
in
I'm
there
saying
and we
like you
can train.
actually
But
have, yeah, you actually have agents using the system teaching, which is awesome.
that's right. Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, so those of you who don't know, like Red X is awesome in the sense that like it has lots of different features. Obviously, you can make phone calls with it. It's got, emails, addresses, phone numbers, names, all those things. But it also has a whole social media suite, which helps you script your videos and edit your videos and do all those things that agents just suck at
Yep.
doing, basically.
Yeah. And
And also training, which is great because a lot of team leaders, like we just said, aren't doing those trainings or don't want to do the trainings. They just want to buy the leads and give them to their agents, and they're not going to close. The agents don't know how to talk to those leads.
right. Yep. Couldn't
I
have said
dig
it
it.
better myself, Nick.
Hey, man, I'm here for you. You know what I mean? Does anybody have any questions? Drop them in the chat. Let us know. If not, Curtis, how can they reach out to you if they have a question? Curtis at redx.com.
Yep. Yep.
Email
And I'll get
Curtis at
you the right
redx.com
person
if you
on the
have any
team.
questions. If not, click on the LCA tab, a link in the chat. You can get the sign up fee waived. It's month to month, I would assume,
It is month to month.
which is
All the more
awesome.
reason we got to train, especially on the teams. That all the more reason we got to
Yeah.
train those agents up real fast. So
And this will also be on the LabCoat Agents YouTube channel, which is just dropped in the chat. Click that link or go to YouTube and search LabCoat Agents and rewatch it if you want some more of the info. If not, check out RedX. I love it.
thanks, Nick.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.